Hello everyone, welcome to the third edition of AVnTech4Church webinar. For those who are not familiar with our platform, your audio and video has been disabled. The only way you can communicate with us is through the Q&A function on the platform. Today's presentation will take a deeper look into video and lighting systems for hybrid worship services. The presenter is Stephen Yeo, Technical Director, Hope Church Singapore. Right. Stephen has more than 20 years of experience in leading and managing the live production ministry of his church. Stephen also does regular training to empower churches, AV and lighting team. Today's webinar will not be possible without our sponsors, and they are Acoustic and Lighting, Analog Way, Epson, MA Lighting, Magewell, Sennheiser, NewTek, and Unilumin. Do visit the sponsors booth, which can be found under the sponsors tab on the left side of your screen. There are lucky draw prizes and special pricing for our attendees. The winners for previous session will be published in an upcoming e-newsletter of Systems Integration Asia. You may wish to check out on our website systemsintegrationasia.com, and the sponsors will contact the winners directly to arrange for the delivery of your prize. Now, let me pass you over to Stephen. Stephen, all yours.
Thanks, David. So first is the definition. What is a hybrid worship service? It is actually meant for in-person audience as well as online audience. People will be watching on their own home or in their mobile devices and so on. So that is a hybrid worship service that is posing a great demand for churches nowadays due to the COVID situation. And so we want to help bring in 5 elements that is critical to make this hybrid service better and one that is more essential, how you can transfer your in-person service to the online audience as well. So there are 2 audiences, in fact, we had to look after, the in-person and also the online. First is the high quality audio mix, okay, which the previous seminar have already been talked about on this. The second part is the mix of 2 or more live action video cameras, which will include graphics as well. And then we would have the lighting design suitable for video. In this course, we will also talk a little bit on lightings in a simple form. How you can make the camera looks much better is due to the lighting considered. Graphics overlay is the 4th one, where full screen graphics or lower third graphics or split screen graphics can be considered added value to give information to your video. And lastly is the internet distribution part to your social media platforms and websites. Now this will also be covered a little bit on the later part of the webinar. I hope that it will be beneficial for you. Now this webinar is limited time and we cannot go really in depth into all the technicalities. So what we try to do is that we created some of these topics out and highlight some key areas that I hope that it will be beneficial for churches. I want to share with you a tip how to get your video to look better. This is called a 4-point lighting technique, quite common for studio production people, where we light up just for the camera. Now, you can implement this in your on-site, in-person stage as well eventually with this theory, and you apply it onto an audience as well in your in-person stage. Okay, so follow with me on this diagram. You have 4 lightings surrounding the talent in the middle, camera right in the middle. On the bottom left, you will have the key light. The key light is generally the main light source, usually hung just above the head of the subject and then tilted to one side. This is how a key light only will look like. Then you add on a second light, which is on the opposite side to the bottom right of your diagram here, which is we call a fill light. The fill light's function is to fill in the shadow of the key light. And so that will make the shadow area not so dark and it will blend in with the other part of the face shape that you have two-sided lighting to even out the brightness on both sides of the face. So this is how a key light and a fill light, 2 lights look like. Moving on is adding a third light into this picture, which is the backlight. If you see on the top right corner, the backlight is basically a light that is coming from the back behind the subject and usually above the head as well, shining in to give a extra glow to the shoulder, to the hair. Backlight is very, very important for video production. And most stages that is in-person stage may not emphasize on backlight. But for camera works, it is very, very crucial. I would strongly encourage you to look into your current setup and look at whether there is sufficient backlight, if there's any. If there is, then look at the angles, look at the intensity. You do need a backlight to highlight this area, the hair, the shoulder, and the sides. And this will pop your subject out, separating it from the background. This is how a backlight only looks like. This is with the key light and the fill light and the backlight looks like. As you can see now, the backlight helps the image comes out from the background and makes it separated. So a needed lighting consideration for your in-place worship centers, consider backlight as your additional. Now, one more additional will be the fourth light. This is the background light. It is important that for the video to work well, the exposure is set well for the subject as well as the background. The subject is placed in a stage with props and with the equipment and or the things people around. That set has to be lit as well. Ideally with another set of light that you have a separate control over. It will not be affecting the face light and the fill light. It is a separate light that lights up the background. Now this light, usually we will put it with color and we want it to have a wash, and sometimes we even put gobo patterns and additional effects over it so that it looks interesting rather than just a flat. Lighting such as lights like this, like a cyclorama lights, will allow you to have a general wash in a large area. And some lights like this, a profile, will be able to light up a small area only. In a specific area, you can have cutters like this for you to shape the beam size. And some of them comes with lens, zoom lens, so that you can focus the light into making it a beam smaller or larger. Some lights are called the Fresnels, which has a lens in front that is rounded with grooves, and that softens the light so that the shadow is not so harsh. And so these are the common type of light, the profile, the Fresnel, the cyclorama. Some we will also use it as a spot to just highlight a certain key area on stage. Or we use it as a general wash, whitewash a whole large area, and then the shadow area will be softened out. And beams are more for creative specifics. Just a specific area you want to let's beam over it. And sometimes we also use haze to add on an extra lighting effect where the light can cut through the haze and you will see the beam out of it. Now, the quality of light is important for video. There are usually two kinds. One is a soft light where the light shadow is more feathered. You don't have a strong shadow behind. So there's usually a soft light. The light is actually diffused through a diffuser or a wall is a reflected light. Those are classified as soft light. It's good for face, good for background lighting, good for audience lighting if you light up the whole congregation, and for architectural lighting for walls and pillars and so on. The soft light will render on the camera, looks pleasing, and the exposure is easily controlled. You will not have a hot spot in the middle that is very bright and then dim down. Soft light will be good for these applications. Now, hard light will be lighting that has harder shadow. The shadow will be more pronounced and is darker, and the outline of the shadow will be very obvious. Very typical to, like you see, a follow spot where the light is strong and hard. So that's hard lighting. A bare bulb tungsten light is also a hard light source as well. All right. So this is good for backlighting. You're having a strong backlight to shine out the subject. We usually use hard light, and aerial lighting, like I mentioned before. Aerial means that the light is shining onto the air, and the haze is being created artificially. And so when the air has a little this haze particle, it catches the light, and you actually see the light beam coming across very interesting effects, and it lights up the whole place. The camera will see it and will catch the idea and the color as well. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit on colors in lighting, because your camera would also able to see colors. And for the face, we will usually want to balance the light so that the face will appear in a correct white balance. The skin tone will appear healthy and normal with a little bit of red, not too green and not too blue. And so this is a color temperature that we need to set for the camera. Now for the normal in-place audience, we may not perceive the color as very dramatically different, but for the camera, it does make a difference. And so it's good to have a key light and fill light that is of the consistent color temperature. Okay, here are the three color temperature that is very commonly used. Warm white, that is 3200 Kelvin, cool white, 4000 Kelvin, and daylight around 5200 Kelvin. So we use colored lights for backlight, background light, architectural light, and audience light. Lighting with color makes a different mood. And when you manipulate color, the video that you shoot for your service will have the mood that will translate as well to follow your segment. So I encourage you that instead of just a plain warm white light in your auditorium, consider having color lights added into your mix, and use the color light for this application like what I mentioned. Not for the face though. For the face, we want a plain white light. It's normally typically a cool light will do, which is the 4000 Kelvin equivalent. All right. The adding of haze for aerial lighting is an additional bonus if you can, if there's moving lights and so on for a larger setup, usually we can do that. But it is totally optional. For a basic camera works, I would recommend at least have a colored backlight and a separate background lighting. These two will be an added feature to your production value. Now here I want to share a little bit on the lighting ratio. This will help camera crew appreciate how lighting helps the camera. In the lighting ratio, we compare the lighting intensity between the key light, the fill light, the backlight, and the background lighting in a ratio balance. So meaning that if I start a ratio of 1:1:1:1, meaning all four lights will appear equally the same amount as appeared to the camera. Therefore, the camera will able to get a perfect exposure. Everything that is in the scene is perfectly lit. None is too high, none is too low. Okay, that is a 1:1:1:1 ratio where we balance this off. Okay, so when you have that achieved, you can then change the ratio of this four combination to create different mood, different ratio, different look. A more dramatic look, for example, then you can make the key light dimmer and then accentuate the backlight, for example. Or even totally cut off the fill, cut off the key, and then only have the backlight and background light to get a silhouette. Or just one-sided light. So it depends on the program of your segment of your program that you are shooting for. Lighting can be a powerful tool to accentuate what your video quality looks like. So work on the lighting as well. Now take note, dark colored object will appear darker even on the same lighting ratio as compared to a light colored object. Okay, so this is a difficulty where cameraman will perceive sometimes. If let's say now I'm wearing dark colored shirt, I will appear darker than my skin, for example. So we do have to balance this so that it appears well, the costume, the hair, the face, and etc., and all the surrounding, right? Now I want to share a bit on putting all these lights together. We need to actually put the console in place. So I strongly encourage you to consider putting a camera shot mixed into a TV screen for him or her to see. For example, a screen like this, although it is meant for the console lighting, you can have another secondary screen to see the camera shot. Okay, can add this into your lighting as well. So that way, when the lighting are changing cues, adjusting his exposure for the face and the background and the backlight and so on, he actually can see how the camera perceive it. And bear in mind, if they have a multi-camera shoot, some camera from another angle may not perceive the lighting correctly as what the lighting designer envisioned it from the front point of view. So having a multi-camera view for the lighting crew to see different camera perceive the lighting will really help the lighting engineer mix better for the cameras of different angles. Okay, so consider having a video monitor added to the lighting. This stage is for the small stage, 2 by 5 meter wide. If you see the red arrows going up will be the key and fill light. And then the two from the back will be your backlight to your subject. And then the green arrow is shooting to the wall. That can be your colored light for your background light. Okay, so this is a simple example. Now, moving up to a medium size, then you would have multiple lights in this scenario. You will see it's the same concept but broken into 4 different areas on the stage. In the front of the stage, or they call it down stage, where you have the key and fill, key and fill, key and fill. The extreme left and right, if you do not have any fixture, then it will just be a key without the fill. But you do have now backlight on all the frontal area and also additional backlight for the sides. Then you have additional background light. It can be either lit from the ground up or top down. Okay, so this background light can be placed just at the up stage where the stage and the wall meets to light up the background. Next, if your premise is a larger venue, then you will consider similar concept of 4-point lighting, but it's expressed this way. You see a lot of these arrows are actually same concept of key and fill, key and fill, key and fill, and they come across in a 45 degrees, 90 degrees separated. And then you would have a second layer of a stage where it is the up stage. The up stage will be the stage nearer to the wall at the back. All right. So down stage, one whole row. Up stage will have another set of key lights for them. Then you got backlight as usual and background lighting. Now, so this diagram will just give you a suggestion. It is not hard and fast rule. It's just a concept for you to consider and depend on your stage size and orientation. And of course, there's the ceiling height, projection wall that is placed there. All this has to be factored in to design a proper lighting for the camera. A few key digital signal that is important is commonly found, and I want you to pay attention on this. Serial Digital Interface, or called SDI. Now, it's introduced in 1989. It has a BNC connector or mini BNC connector, typically used for broadcast video. Okay, the bit rate ranges from 143 megabits to 12,000 or 12 gigabits. Okay, now all this information or the resolution that you see here is just for fun fact. Sometimes you see those as advertised like 4K, 8K, you know. So these are the resolution and you can refer to this as a reference. Sometimes you also see like 3G, 6G, 12G, right? The numbers refer to either the pixels or the megabits per second, which is the data rate. So this table hopefully just give you some glimpse. Next time you can refer to it for what it means. Now, after SDI, in year 2003, HDMI was birthed. HDMI stands for High Definition Multimedia Interface. It has a 19-pin cable compact together, and it has a Type A, which is our quite standard HDMI, commonly seen on your television, the back of television, that Type A. Then there's the Type B, which is not so common. It's meant for the dual link. And then Type C, which is the mini version, smaller. And Type D, micro version. Micro version are common for those like action camera, you know, like GoPro, for example. Right? All those are the smaller connector. So these are digital video signal. It can go up to very high resolution of 8K 8K UHD, if you heard that term, right? It's basically 7,680 pixel by 4,320 pixel at 60 Hertz refresh rate. Pretty high. That's the version 2.1, if you heard about all these things. Okay, then next, in 2006, they rolled out DisplayPort. It's a 20-pin external and 32-pin internal. There's also a mini DisplayPort, smaller version. Some of the laptops come with this connector as well. Now, it can take out very, very high resolution as well, as you can see over here. 8K UHD as well as 16K Ultra HD as well. Now, all these big numbers actually in our normal church use, honestly, we will not go that high, all right? But just for your information, just a fun fact, I put it over here. Now, then in 2010, HD Base T was rolled out. So HD Base T is actually a digital signal that converts audio, video as well. It transfers over a standard Ethernet cable or a 8P8C modular connector. Some call it RJ45. All right, so Ethernet cable, those that you plug into your modem router. Okay, that cable transfers audio and video and data connection as well. You can go up to 4K Ultra HD in the version 3. Not bad, quite typical on some of the projectors. It carries that signal as well and some converters. Now, then came 2015, not too long ago, Network Device Interface was birthed, NDI. And this is also a 8P8C is a network connector and runs the digital. This runs at 100 megabits per second or 1920 1080 full HD resolution. In transferring video from camera to the switcher, there will be a considerable amount of distance. You will need to figure out how to get the signal across from the camera all the way down the hall and all the way back to the control room to the switcher. Now, this is a bit of a problem when the HDMI has a limit. HDMI cable usually are rated around 10 to 15 meters long. Anything further, it starts to have the stability issue. So we will recommend that if you need to have a cable length to be planned out first before you plan your camera or where your computer graphics is, do plan out the distance. All right. Now, if you run more than 15 meters, then a simple HDMI repeater will be useful. This HDMI repeater will enable you to join two HDMI cables together, doubling the distance. If you need a third one, you can put a second repeater, and it needs to be powered up as well. This is one illustration of joining one HDMI repeater in the middle to put two HDMI cables together. You get about 15 times 2 kind of length. Now, moving on is you get a HDMI and you want to stretch it further, you can do a HDMI to SDI converter. So this converter actually changes from HDMI to SDI, serial digital interface, and then it can travel up to 100 meters on typical, 100 meter across a coaxial cable. So this illustration how you can consider putting a longer cable, convert it to SDI. Now, third one is to convert it into a just simple extender wire Cat6 cable. Now, this one is a point-to-point. It basically takes a HDMI signal, converts to a Cat6, and then runs all the way to your another end. Now, these are quite typical use as well. Sometimes your building already has network points dotted from one room to the next room. You can make use of this room-to-room network point to run your video and audio signal across. Okay, but if you're laying a brand new, then the option would be SDI, because it's more popular that the SDI will interface to video switches much better. I want to talk about different types of cameras that is common in live production and online streaming. Okay, webcam is one of them. Now, webcam started off at home with teleconferencing use. It is not well suited for a big production due to the lack of control. The webcam usually it will be very hard for you to like zoom in and zoom out, exposure setting and so on, though it has software to control it. I just listed it here because sometimes you do run in a very small scale setup. A webcam is better than no camera or from the built-in of your laptop. So consider an external webcam to just start off your stream. That webcam can go into your computer and stream out. Just a single camera, USB based. This will be the go-to. There's assortment of webcams available on market. Pick one with some of this feature. Now, moving upwards to improve your quality would be using a DSLR or a mirrorless camera. So mirrorless will be a little bit more compact with lesser moving mirrors in between. And it does come with a interchangeable lens usually. So you can have assortment of wide angle lens or medium or telephoto lens to come in with. Like in this production, we use DSLR to shoot, and it has good image quality. Assortment of cameras out in the market. Some of the cameras will have software built in so that it will output a clean signal, meaning the HDMI that goes out do not carry any of those menu settings and information for the camera crew. Okay, the output that goes out to your computer system to encode will be a clean, just the camera shot only. All right, so you can consider cameras that is built for that. But some of the downside will be the camera may not have all the external control that you want to press in, all the focusing button and so on. So you got to get used to this for a real live production where a lot of changes are required. Okay, but definitely a better image quality than webcam. Now the next would be a handy cam or a camcorder. Typically the camera itself has a fixed lens. Most of these are a fixed lens, small compact format, easy to carry around, battery loaded, comes with microphone and additional lighting accessory you can attach to it as well. It has a quite decent lens capability. You can do a very high zoom as well. Easy to carry on because it's all in one package. All right, camcorder. Now there's also the action camera that is quite popular, small little compact ones that you can mount almost anywhere. You can run on battery itself for some hours, or you can plug into a USB port and get AC DC power to USB, or even a power bank to be attached behind, and you can run it for a long haul. It can help output a HDMI, usually a micro HDMI or mini HDMI. That signal can be traveled again to your mixer, and you integrate that into your multi-camera mix. It's a good solution for just having an additional second camera, usually to shoot a wide angle. This action camera will come in handy for a wide angle shot. All right, it can be easily mounted, unobstructive. Next, to move on, we do need some better quality in control and in the lenses. Then the prosumer camera will be next. Prosumer camera will spot additional features for audio inputs, for special iris control, additional white balances, and some other additional features that is built into it that will help the crew operate the camera right off the body itself. The buttons are located well, so that you don't have to do a lot of menu pressing to enter those modes. So prosumer camera will be the next up if you're considering to up your production standard. All right. Usually the lens will be a better grade quality. It does carry some high resolution as well, and there are different models. Some also can be shoulder mounted. Some are small and compact and handy, where you can also mount wireless transmitter and lighting accessory and so on onto it. Now, there's also pan tilt zoom cameras or PTZ cameras. These are also commonly used to mount on walls or ceiling and are able to get shots that is very difficult for the cameraman to be there. And yet this one can be manipulated. The camera can be turned. So the operator in the broadcast room have a remote controller, and so he's able to pan the camera, going left, right, tilt the camera, going up, down, and zoom in or out, all within from the control room remotely. So pan tilt zoom cameras can become a substitute to a cameraman standing behind the camera, and you can put pan-tilt zoom cameras around your venue to do a multi-camera production where only you need is one cameraman that sits behind the controller and control all the multi-cameras on site one at a time. If you need multiple controls simultaneously, then multiple controller has to be employed. But there is a cost to this item as well. Controller and the camera do come with a higher cost than the standard prosumer cameras. But they can be a solution for places that you find it difficult to put a cameraman there. Sometimes we put it on stage, and this pan-tilt zoom camera will be very well because you do not want a distraction to the audience having a cameraman sitting throughout the whole event. So a pan-tilt zoom will do. Then came the big boys, which is the broadcast cameras. These are the industry standards. Studio will rely on them, production houses. Some of these big ones are meant to have higher lens capability, a lot more features and function, control, manual control, and accessories that is associated to it, like integration to CCU, camera control unit, to run the signal back to studio, so that the studio operator can control the exposure, the color, and can send video signal back and so on. All this information are actually critical for a multi-camera production of high quality. Then the broadcast camera will come into play. But it does come with a high cost and have to be considered carefully. This workshop will not be able to cover all the in-depth of the camera. Okay, I'll just give you this sample. These are commonly found cameras. In this webinar, due to time, we will not go too deep into these camera supports. But you do have to pick one that will fit your weight of the camera, or the tripod will have a certain rating for the pan head. Make one that is stable for the crew to operate well. A general tip would be for the main camera, have the remote control zoom attached to the pan handle. This will give the operator freedom to zoom in and zoom out without having to touch the camera, therefore getting a more stable shot. Having an external remote control on the pan handle is a good accessory must have for a live production. Now here I want to recommend you various camera location that you can implement into your setup. Okay, this is from starting with 2 camera to 4 to 8 cameras, and these are the location for each of these camera listed out. It depends on your production place and the size.
Hope that you found the presentation beneficial so far. We'll be taking a 10 minutes break. Do visit our sponsor's booth and we'll see you soon after the break. Thanks. Welcome back, everyone. Let's get back to Stephen for a second part of the presentation. Stephen, over to you.
Thanks, David. Now we will look into video switcher. This component of the device, as you can see over on this table here, is a sample of how the switcher may look like. It's meant to integrate all the video sources together. The camera sources, the computer that you have, the displays, the playback devices, your Blu-ray, DVD player and all this, those sources can be integrated into a switcher like this, and then it can be switched interoperably and then output to projectors, television, LED walls, etc. So I want to go through the details on this, what are the things that you look out for in order for you to choose a good switcher. Some of the consideration you can look is the form factor. Now, form factor means that the size of it. It can come in a all-in-one package, means that the switcher and the interface for all the connections are all integrated in one box. That's a all-in-one control panel and video switcher. Good for small churches and medium-sized churches. The next one is a separate control box and a separate switcher. This will be good for a larger setup. Usually we want the control box, something like this, to be located in the rack, further away from the controller. And the controller is where the operator will mix in front of the television, the multi-viewer. So you can consider this into your system if you're considering whether to upgrade. So the next item is actually the number of inputs. Inputs into the switcher. Some switcher is a small format, can be even a 2-channel, 4 channels, 8 channels, 16, 24, and so on. It grows larger and larger. Depends on your number of inputs that you need and the type of inputs. Typically, for digital console like this one, would be HDMI input or SDI input, or like this model here, it takes in an NDI input. So these inputs are important because it will be the signal type. The signal that you are sending from your camera and computer has to be formatted to that. These guys will receive it and able to mix interoperability. Okay. The next thing you got to know will be the output type and the quantity of it. The output means that the signal that comes into your mixer, if you have, for example, here 8 channels over here, you got to select and then send out to various sources, to projectors, to television, to recorders, to the various rooms. And these different outputs, you have to count how many are they, and then you got to find a mixer that has that amount of outputs for you. The general default outputs will be for program output. This is your main screen, the on-air screen. Whatever that is mixed, go over there. That main output, you will need to see one screen there. The second is a multi-viewer output, where you can see multi-views of multi-inputs. So let's say, for example, you have a 8-channel like this, you will see 8 small boxes of video. You got to see them all before the director can take. And so able to see this multi-view is important for a live production where you want a real-time view of all the sources at the same time. Okay, and auxiliary output is another important factor. Most times when we want to output a source, we want to control the output so that it will be cut in by another, let's say another computer. It can be done without interrupting the video feed. So if you have an auxiliary out, the auxiliary out can be sent to another screen where it is additionally mixed in output to that screen. So for example, if I want to do a camera mix only, and all the camera will be mixed together without the graphics, I can just mix this camera without any graphics into a recorder, and it will just record clean just the camera shots without the graphics. So that can go to the auxiliary. But with adding overlays with graphics and so on, can be mixed to the main screen for the live audience. So that will be another auxiliary out program. So if your mixer has that, then you would have all this flexibility as well. Look out for that. The next thing is the audio capability. Audio capability for mixers, some of the small format does not come in with the mixing of sound. that is usually, the bigger one will usually done by another separate audio console. And all the sound will be mixed by another separate audio console. Then it is brought into the mixer. You can embed the sound into the HDMI or SDI, meaning some of the mixer from the camera will pick up the sound, and that sound from the camera is also piped into the console for you to mix the sound as well. Otherwise, it will be from an external input source, meaning your dedicated audio mixing console. Then you mix the whole sound down into usually a stereo sound, 2 channels, and into the mixer. This mixing capability will depend on mixer to mixer. You may need it to do some simple volume adjustment. Some of them would have some full feature of software audio function. In the software, you can actually control the equalizer and the compressor and some other settings that is valuable, comparable to having a standalone mixer. So look out for this if you want an integrated audio solution as well. The next thing is the input frame rates, refresh rates, resolution scaling as well. Some of the console actually can come in with multiple frame rates. 50 frames are common in our region here. And the refresh rate will be the resolution that you're supporting is also important. Resolution is mainly if I'm outputting high resolution to the projector in the hall, you can do that if it is capable of. But when it's taking down another stream to go online, sometimes you need to scale down to a lower resolution. So usually some mixer may give you the flexibility and some may not. And so the output resolution scaling usually is tied with whatever the input and the output match together will be the best. But some console is able to pick up input from various sizes of resolution and it will shrink to one fixed size to be outputted. Okay, so you can look out for this feature as well. The next one is just some other features additionally, like an internal media player where you can load still graphics to playback. And then you got downstream keyer and upstream keyer. This is for you to overlay graphics and text on top of a video. And it will appear like name titles, subtitles, logos, and bugs. These are important features as well. I would strongly recommend select a console that has this feature. Typical for House of Worship churches, we will put lyrics, name titles over the video. This will be the downstream keyer function that you need. Next one is the USB web streaming output. USB web streaming output is an optional item. If you're planning that whatever mix I come into here, I take a feed out of this and go into computer, I can stream it online already. So look out for that feature. But you can also buy dedicated streaming boxes, so the mixer don't have to carry internally. That can go into a streaming box to encode and then goes out to internet, which we'll talk about in the as we go on for this workshop. And tele-like connection is good to have, usually meant for the bigger setup with multi-cameras. It means that whatever camera that you select, let's say camera 1, the tele lamp, a red color box will appear, red light will appear on your camera end as well, so that the camera operator will see that camera is being selected, and therefore giving him an option to say that I'm now selected, I hold steady, right? And then when it turns green, means that he is offline, he's on standby, and it's white, no light at all, then he is totally offline, he can change his shots, for example. This tele light can also be additional boxes to carry this. It may not be integrated to the console. Optional item if you're just doing a very small scale mix, you don't need this. Two-way video is an additional option as well. Two-way video means that sometimes we want the same video that's being mixed being sent back to the cameraman. So the cameraman has two views, one his own camera and one is whatever the program being mixed by the director. And so he can kind of like see what's happening and then he can react responsively as well. Big studios usually will do that. Two-way video, talkback connection. Talkback is for director to able to talk to the cameraman. Okay, some of the visual console are integrated as well, the bigger ones. Otherwise, then you have to find another product to interface intercommunication between crew to crew. So the director may be in the room far away from the cameramans, and they can give cues and commands verbally over the voice. So the cameraman is able to know the direction when to go and when not to go. Besides seeing the program tally light, he can also hear the instruction. So some of these features are put into the mixer as well. And lastly, not the least though, is timecode generator. Some bigger console need to synchronize the time code for the recorders and the cameras so that they all are in the same sync time. And so they need one generator clock to generate a master clock. That clock will be very accurate, and that same clock will be going to all the cameras and the switcher. And so usually it's an added bonus for the bigger production, but in a small one, we may not have that luxury because all those connections that I mentioned here do cost a lot more, and the camera gear has to have that interface, mixer has to have the interface as well to benefit from all these features. So I will categorize that under the large capacity usage, right, as you see on the screen. Projection system, what is it? Usually in an in-person church service, you would have audience watching the screen as well. So this projection system is required for the in-person. Usually there will be television, projectors, and LED video wall are quite common nowadays as your projection system. Television are generally easy to acquire, but they are smaller in size. It can be portably mounted on walls, ceiling, portables, rollable racks, easily can deploy to small rooms, etc. Now for projectors, there are also projector that is like for example here, it is small, compact, easy to mount as well on ceiling, put on tripod dolly cabinets. It can be mounted inside environment for a real projection, and it can also get a large screen, large image out of it. Some projectors are laser based. The lamp that is not lamp based, laser based will be brighter, and it has a long lamp life almost. You do not need to do any lamp replacement. It's a good choice. It can have high brightness, and it can project onto a large area as well, onto large wall like for environmental projection. It can do front as well as rear, can be packed and lugged along in a luggage bag to travel to different places, and you have a large projection overall. It can even act as a background imagery, a motion background imagery projection, where the camera can see the subject and the background can be lit with the projection image with either motion graphics or colored and so on. So very portable, very easy to travel and move around as well. Good solution. LED wall would be another bigger one where you need a bigger space and it's bright, and usually when there is a space constraint of throw distance, the LED wall will be a fixed installation will be good where it is bright. Even when the hall is very brightly lit, the LED wall can cut through. But there will be also structural support required due to the heavier size and larger panels. So some of this consideration can be used in your planning for your upgrades or your venue selection. The online audience may also sometimes see this screen, either TV or projector or LED wall in the camera shot. So this projection system has to be planned in as well so that they offer a good image to the camera. Now, some of the common problem would be flickering image at the projected image. Flickering in terms where the camera sees it is due to different refresh rate and so on. So careful thought has to be planned in. Usually a higher refresh rate for LED wall is required for video production. We will recommend number ranging from 2000 Hertz above will be good for having a flicker-free LED wall refresh rate. That way the cameras, when it's capturing, will not have this issue. But in this webinar, it is not enough time to cover the deep in-depth of all this technology. So we will probably do that in another future in-depth session. Okay. Now here is a case study of a USB capture device. It comes with a single input card. And if we need two input cards, for example, in this diagram, you will then now need two pieces put together. Now take note, For USB cards, if you are inserting into a computer, make sure the second card is inserted to the second USB root. When you look at the computer device, some of the ports are being shared side by side. Usually the two ports are actually on the same root. It won't work if you put the second one there. You do need to put it on another side of the computer where it's on another root of the USB. So just take note of that. So sometimes the second one won't work is due to this. You cannot share USB root. Now, next one is a PCI Express. PCI Express card will be built into a CPU casing. For laptops, unfortunately, you don't have that option. Laptop will run with the USB version. So PCI Express can come in a single input, dual input, or quad input, which is a 4 channels input. There are a lot of different inputs like HDMI or SDI or even the analog VGA is available depending on your input. So usually we will match up with a mixer, what it outputs. If it's output a HDMI, then you get a PCI card that is HDMI, right? In this example here will be one computer going in and one camera going into the card. Of course, if you have more computers and more cameras, you will need another extra card, and then the thing will just goes up. Depending again on your CPU, whether you have the PCI slot or not. Next one is an integration with a video switcher. You have computer cameras, multiple of them go into a switcher. Switcher, there are two kinds. One kind of switcher, it has a built-in USB interface that can talk to the computer and stream the video. It's digitized in the mixer itself. That's a good solution for a small base, and it's all in one package. Okay, like for example, like this. Then you will need a computer with a software to encode the video, and then a software to stream it as well. Usually it's the same software that will do both of this function, encoding and streaming at the same time. All right. Next one will be a switcher that goes not into the computer for streaming, but into a dedicated hardware encoder. And so this encoder usually it can be a rack mount or a box like this. It connects to the internet. Video goes into the box encodes to the setting that you need, points to the correct server, and goes out to the cloud. And that box does all the encoding dedicated. All right, it does not be affected by operating system changes or upgrades, patching, and so on. It is not dependent on the computer CPU resources. That dedicated hardware usually would be more reliable, and for a kind of a fixed dedicated job, it is robust, it is rated for long form, long time recording. So I would strongly encourage, if can, go with a hardware encoder for a more reliable, dedicated encoding and streaming of your regular services. Okay, that ends the encoder hardware, the connection. I want to share a little bit on what is the encoding then, what goes inside the box of the encoder, right? It's good to know a little bit of this technical so that as you move the video from digital format inside, the computer has to recognize it in a format that is compatible with most web player and most mobile devices. So when the viewer see it, it has to be a format that they can receive and reread. And so that's where encoding comes in. All right. Now, second, you have to know is the compression. It is the amount of size being reduced to fit this transmission over the internet. So from a large capacity, high definition video of uncompressed video files that goes in to your switcher and goes out to your encoder, it has to be shrunk to a smaller bit size to travel to the internet. So this is where the video compression comes in. Okay, there are settings that later we will show you, some recommended settings of bitrate and so on that you can start off with. So the codecs is another thing we need to know. Codec basically is like a language. It's like, they call it a codec means coder and decoder. Both of them become a codec. And so most commonly codec used is H.264. You may have heard it as well. And so this is the way the playback system recognizes the file. It's equivalent to like your language that we are using. Okay, so video encoding is different than video transcoding. All right, video encoding means that you are changing a file format to another so that it's more playable on a player device. Whereas transcoding is changing that into a smaller sizes or a larger sizes, all right, of the same file type. So in web streaming, sometimes we had to transcode to like 4 or 5 different bit rate, high, medium, low, and even very low for the very slow internet connection. This transcoding has to happen as well. Now, some encoder do not do multi-transcoding. You just do one standard size and that's it. Some other platforms will do this transcoding for you. Some of the social media sites will do that. As you send the one video up to their site, they in their server will break down transcode into multiple bit rates. That's done by the server or the video hosting that you have engaged. Okay, but take note of this, because sometimes when we watch and we see the quality is low, it's due to that we are watching a low transcoding, but you can choose a higher and the highest as well. So usually the guideline would be send the best, highest quality to the server that you are transcoding to. Give them the best quality so that they can break down into a smaller chunks for you. Okay. Now I will share 2 common encoder. One is called RTMP. It's termed as real-time messaging protocol. And this protocol, or in our layman would be languages, computer language, right? It's a communication protocol for streaming audio, video, and data over internet. It's very common. The popular encoder that does that, you just imagine the video comes in, it needs to talk to a translator in our common law. So the translator will translate into a language that the computer understands, and this will be RTMP. Then it encodes the video, sends it up to RTMP server. So the video is being brought up there. You will need softwares. There are several software that are free available online. Here I list down a few of them, and you can check them out, and there are different feature and function for RTMP encoder. The few software that is popular is listed here is Elgato Studio, OBS Studio, Streamlabs OBS, vMix software, XSplit Broadcaster, and Restream Studio, to just name a few. Now, as the technology goes on, several years ago, another protocol is birthed, and it's called RSP. And RSP stands for Resilient Streaming Protocol. This is the first live streaming technology that fully protects against audio and video quality loss during transmission, regardless of network interruptions. It is intended to be used in any application which require that live multimedia be free of imperfections caused by transmission problems, and where the viewer experience cannot be interrupted by missing or lost content. Because of this, RSP guarantees the complete and error-free audio-video delivery. It can be confidently used as live streaming over unpredictable networks such as wireless cellular hotspots. We will recommend that you can give this RSP encoder a try, and to understand that it is more superior for live streaming at a very unpredictable setting. Here is some resolution guidelines that will help you start to set up your encoder. One is at the lowest would be 360 frames. This is good if you want to save bandwidth and ensure smooth playback on viewers with slow internet. Okay, now be aware the visual quality will remain low due to the low resolution. Next one is 720p. P stands for progressive, by the way. So high visual quality is not recommended for full screen playback in a large setting. That will be 1080p recommended. Optimally, visual quality is there, best for high definition video playback. But be aware, you will need more bandwidth. And the viewers on slow internet, they may have an experience of getting buffering issues if they are watching a 1080p content. We will also recommend some encoder settings. These are based on many of the popular live streaming servers. So here is just a start-off recommendation. The numbers are on screen. So I want you to refer to this. I won't read out every single one of them. But just to highlight that there is this H.264 profile. If your encoder has that option, please double check it and that it is selected onto those settings as well. So bit rate, a recommendation for us practically is start with the lower recommended version first, okay? Start with the lower one so that you guarantee a smooth transmission all over and that you don't get any breakage. Then as your tests are successful at the lower one, increase it by say 500 kbps and do another test stream to see that if that's acceptable as well. And if it's acceptable as well and your computer is stable, move it up another 500 kbps until you hit your recommended max limit. Then that will be a good way for you to test your stream so that it's compatible to all viewers as well. Okay, this is a quick tip for you all. So there are three ways that you can take the stream. You can put it onto the hardware encoder, or you can do it on the software using your computer, and then you can upload a stream or automate it online. And there are different services that will provide you for all this. Here I want to list out a few that you can actually make use of. The free ones, okay? The free ones are using RTMP encoder. They go to a lot of these social media websites such as Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, etc. You've heard them all before. These are basically a single stream. You send one stream over, the encoder takes it, and then that one stream they will transcode to different versions. These are generally free. You can start off. We encourage that churches can start off internally to do a test trial first before you launch it to your real audience. Do an internal test. All right. The other free version that instead of going to one place, you want to multiple sites. If let's say you want to go to multiple sites, you need to do this multi-stream platform. Is called restream.io. Okay, you can check out. They can carry even up to 30 social media platforms compatible to it. Okay. Now another free is on Instagram. Okay, popular amongst the younger crowd. You can also stream to Instagram via another application called Yellow Duck, where it takes the stream key, generate a stream key for you to put on your Instagram post. But it's limited to 30 minutes of this recording per stream. So every other 30 minutes, then it will stop. You got to restart again if you're doing more longer than that. Now, freeware has limitations. Okay, if as you go, if you find that you need more technical support, more analytics, more reliable content delivered, then the paid version will be the next up. Okay, so there are also online platforms that carry this video. This content delivery network, or CDN, can come in to take your video that you have encoded onto their server, and they will distribute according to your where you want it to go to. So content delivery networks such as Dakas, IBM Cloud Video, Vimeo Livestream, Wowza, to name a few. There are also RTMP paid services by Vimeo. They have the free version and also the paid version on premium, enterprise, and OTT subscription based. So check out their sites for a solution that may fit your organization as well. All right. So the video on demand as well as live stream will become coexist together. After the video has been streamed live, you may want to save a copy for a repeat cast as well, and it's for on demand. You can also upload video earlier ahead of time, and that video can store in their server to be played back at the specific time that you specify. That is like a simulated live event or premiere. Only on that particular date and time, it will be released out. But the video is already pre-edited and recorded and put onto an on-demand server. So some of these paid server will able to do it for you as well. Okay. Some other paid account like Zoom, if you're very common nowadays in our teleconferencing software. Zoom has the free account limit to 40 minutes. You can also stream the paid one. for unlimited time. Well, there's a 2 day, if I'm not wrong, of stream. And you can also take Zoom's feed and stream it to Facebook as well. Quite popular choice as well, where you can control the video. Is quite simple and you need not have additional IT knowledge over managing it. Okay, and the last one I want to highlight would be the paid version. If you need to up one more step to have a reliable one, would be RSP, the resilient protocol, right, that I mentioned earlier. So it has proprietary hardware like the Resi Ray or Resi Prism. Is compatible software as well, like ProPresenter 7, software that can encode into RSP format. If you need to send it to places like Facebook, YouTube, your own church websites, or church online platform. Church online platform would be another site where you can explore. They are the maker of the U Bible, the U version Bible, if you're familiar with. Then they are able to give this church online platform package for free. They're offering it to any organization or churches to sign up their subscription, which is free, and they give you the code to do the programming. We use them quite a lot in terms of scheduling our programming, and we're able to actually use this to interact with the audience. Now, here is a part where I feel that live streaming should not just be a one way down and that's it. We want to engage the audience. And my hope is that you are able to talk to the people who watch your stream. Pray for them. Ask them for a response as well. If they choose to say yes, they can have a way to link your church as well. Then online ministers can be there to talk to them as well using church online platform. It's another integrated software that I introduced. So therefore, you can engage the audience and not just a passive stream only. Here ends my sharing, and I hope that you have benefited from this whole presentation. If you have any question, okay, please type into the chat. And if after this, we will switch over to the new live conversation where we will answer all your questions as best as we can. So, see you there.
Thank you, Stephen, for the insightful presentation, and thank you, audience, for staying with us. We are now going to switch to live, where Stephen and a familiar figure from our previous webinar, Robert Su, will go through the Q&A segment. Please bear with us while we make that transition.